Good afternoon. Good afternoon, family. I'm Curtis Cheatham Jr., and welcome to This Week in Black America. And here's a rundown of this past week's highlights. Former President Biden revealed some disturbing medical news this week, while the House narrowly passed Trump's so-called Big Beautiful Bill. And the U.S. credit rating took a hit this week, as did Target. Target's first quarter results were out, and they weren't great. So we'll go into that. The administration continued its assault on Harvard, and yet another world leader was invited to the Oval Office and was ambushed. And we'll have all that this week on Black America. And I'm proud to have my brother with me here. Brother Deshaun, how are you this afternoon, brother?
I feel great. Welcome to everybody who's checking in. It's good to see you, my brother. Always great to be with you every Friday here at 12 Eastern time. And we run the show down in a way where if you're busy, if you don't, if you're working, you're with your family, this is where we come to catch up on everything that happened and specifically how it affects us as Black Americans. So we like to call it BET for news. So, but anyway, yeah. So if this is your first time here, we invite you to hit the like button. And if you've been here before and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. We're live on the Brother Deshaun Facebook page, as well as the Hello Black America YouTube page. And we're now live on the Brother Deshaun Instagram page. So we got a lot to discuss, as always. When don't we have a lot to discuss, Curtis? When don't we have a lot to discuss?
Hey, there's a lot going on. There's a lot going on out there, brother, for sure.
Why don't you cue us up and let's get right into this week's happenings.
Absolutely. First thing, it's not really, we won't spend a lot of time here, but just want to acknowledge the 46th president of the United States, Joe Biden, this week announced that he had been diagnosed with an aggressive form of prostate cancer that has actually begun to spread. They're saying that it's manageable, because of the type it is, but he is 82 years old. And this is an aggressive form of prostate cancer, which is generally the most treatable type of cancer, but you need to catch it early. And this is stage 4. So, our best wishes go out to the former president. He's come under attack politically, in recent years, but he's got a long, well-documented history as a politician. Some of it great, some of it not so great. But I guess we could all say that about our life experience in reality. Any thoughts about the former president and his prostate cancer diagnosis?
Well, our thoughts and prayers are with any person. Makes me think about when Biggie said, he was talking about Tupac, and he said, listen, even though we had our issues, I would never wish death on any man.
Right.
So I think, that's kind of, regardless of how you feel about a person politically or how they did a job, there's no coming back from death. So we certainly wish him the best, with this cancer treatment.
Absolutely. And there's all types of foolishness going on, and where people are, saying mean things about the president. Our country is in such a place right now where humanity is so lacking in people that you can't even muster up, even if you don't mean it. You can't muster the words and just say, I wish you the best. I hope this works out well for you, and leave it at that.
The days of if you don't have anything nice to say, don't
say it. I was just getting ready to say that.
Those days are
gone.
We're behind us. So
yeah, absolutely. Well, best to Joe Biden. Another serious note, and we don't really, again, have a lot to say. This one's pretty recent. 2 embassy employees, in fact, were fatally shot yesterday outside a Jewish museum in Washington, D.C. And apparently they were set to be engaged. The 2 of them he had already bought a ring, and they were set to go back to Israel and get engaged. And the perpetrator, I'm not going to mention his name, but he was taken into custody, and he was yelling "Free Palestine" upon his arrest. So obviously there's a lot going on in the in Israel and Gaza confrontation going on for years now, but this is the latest iteration of what we're seeing come out of that, or rise out of that that violence that we're seeing over in the Middle East. Not much to say on that, but just kind of more of a story that's late in the news. And of course, the incident is being investigated as a hate crime and as an act of terrorism at this point. So,
yeah, I mean, it's just, again, another sad story. Again, when people are taken out of this world, this is the ultimate time to really, like you said, show humanity, especially from a country who claims they're following God. Many people claim they're following God in their own way.
right.
And you could be at war. Obviously, like you said, Palestine and Israel has been at war for a very long time. But, the death of anyone is just, not anything to be, it's something to be prayed about. And just, these are not, oh, we gotta, it's just, there's nothing good out of it. So
Right.
I think that's why we don't really go too deep on these topics, because, there's people who are unfortunately being killed all over the world right now. And, some of them, depending on the political space or depending on the region they're in, get a little more coverage than other people. But certainly we wish those two the best as well. The two, they work at the embassy.
Yeah, they were apparently embassy employees there. So, that's sad thing. They work for the Israeli embassy. So, and Washington D.C. So, our thoughts and prayers for their families, and
More love, less wars.
Yes,
more love, less wars.
Absolutely. So, a lot to get into. So let's go right into it. Kind of an abrupt change of pace here, but let's go into this first one. I suspect we're going to have a little bit of a conversation. The so-called Big Beautiful Bill. Listen, if nothing else, our president is a marketer, and that is certainly one of his strengths. And he's marketing as the big beautiful bill. It's passed the House by one vote, 215 to 214, and still needs to pass the Senate. And I'm suspecting that a slightly different version of this will go through the Senate, and then they'll have to combine what these bills look like. But the Big Beautiful Bill is the cornerstone of the Trump agenda. It makes the 2017 tax cuts permanent that he initiated during his first presidency. It raises a SALT deduction, which is I think a tax deduction that you can take for people under a certain salary. So it raised that from 10,000 to 40,000. It introduced a MAGA savings account. And of course, it also cut with some cuts to Medicare and some adjusting of the Medicaid requirements. And it also did some things as far as clean energy and slashing the clean energy tax credits and things like that. And overall, it's said to add about close to $4 trillion. That's with a T, $4 trillion to the national deficit. So that's the basics of it. You run with this first, Brother Deshaun. What you got for the Big Beautiful Bill?
Well, let's go. In this article here by The Hill, they go over these five takeaways. I'm just gonna run down. We're gonna run down for you guys a little bit more of an overview of what's in this bill. So extensions of the 2017 tax cuts permanently extends the tax cuts enacted in 2017. So Trump's initial tax cuts are now permanently extended in this bill that just passed through the House. New tax exemptions. So introduces exemptions for tips, overtime pay, and car loan interest effective through 2028. Child tax credit. Introduces the credit to increases the credit rather to $2,500 per child through 2028. Then it reverts to $2,000 after that. As Curtis, as you just mentioned, the SALT deduction cap, it raises the state and local tax deduction cap from $10,000 to $40,000 for anyone earning under $500,000, and I think that's most of us. Establishes $1,000 money accounts for growth and investment, which they call a MAGA savings account. And what that is basically going to look like is them putting $1,000. If you think of like what were the investments called for you to put your kids through school? It was tied to the stock market. Not the.
I know what you're talking about. I just can't
maybe
recall.
One of our co-hosts can help us out. So this is it's going to be $1,000 at pretty much when the child is born, put into this savings account. Remittance tax imposes a 5% tax on money sent abroad. So that's going to be taxed now. Again, this has not passed through the Senate, still has to get through Senate,
right?
But it has passed through the House. So it increases taxes on large private university endowments. So what it looks like is in some cases, they're trying to bring in more tax money, but at the same time, we can see cuts based on, obviously, the tax cuts for the rich that have been in place since 2017. But I think they're trying to make some of it back so it doesn't eat as much into the deficit as people are saying it is going to. Medicaid reforms. Now, this is healthcare. These are the things that fall under healthcare and social programs within this bill, just a few of them. Implement stricter work requirements starting in 2026 for Medicaid. So increases verification processes. And it introduces higher fees for recipients above the poverty line. So, and Curtis, we can just bullet point anything we want to circle back around with on these, because a couple of these I would like us to dive a little deeper into, especially with the audience. And if you're just now watching, understand you're our co-host. So feel free to type. We like to dialogue. Curtis and I have plenty of dialogue, and we get phenomenal dialogue from you, our co-host. So anything you guys want to go deeper in, just let us know in the chat. Coverage restrictions prohibits Medicaid funding for gender affirming care. We knew that was coming.
Yep.
And abortion related services. SNAP cuts reduces funding for the Supplemental Nutrition and Assistance Program. So anyone who is on what is known as food stamps, I believe, is there any other thing that falls under SNAP? Because
not that I know of now.
As we grew up, they were called food stamps,
right?
And then it went to Family First, and people had their Families First card, but now that's the SNAP program. So that funding has been reduced. So anyone who is, and there's no real, they didn't give too many details in reference to how it's going to be reduced. It's just overall that there's going to be less money available for SNAP. Student loan changes now replaces existing forgiveness programs with more stringent repayment options. Defense spending. Now we go to defense and border security of what's in this bill. Allocates an additional $150 billion focusing on advanced missile defense systems like President Trump's Golden Dome that he has intended to build before the end of his term. And we also have that on our list to talk about. So border security provides $70 billion, including $46.5 billion for border wall construction. So he is hell-bent on finishing that border wall. Funds for hiring additional Border Patrol agents and investments in surveillance and inspection technologies. Then we move to education and labor. Pell Grant adjustments, tightens the eligibility requirements and introduces workforce Pell Grants aimed at trade school students. Student loans, eliminates federal direct subsidized loans for undergraduates. Regulatory changes, removes the Department of Education's authority to enforce gainful employment regulations. And then we'll wrap up with just technology. And then we'll look at as Curtis already mentioned, the fiscal impact what this is going to do to our already 34 plus 35, I don't know, $1 trillion debt that we have. So technology and regulation, AI legislation moratorium, ban state level artificial intelligence laws for 10 years. Now, I don't really know. It says it bans state level artificial intelligence laws for
Yeah,
10
that one
years.
seemed weird to me as well. It
That's a
raised an
little,
eyebrow.
because again, if you know how the country's set up, ladies and gentlemen, the states are independent. The federal government can't tell the states what to do with no, they can't
That
do
was the
that.
first thing I thought about. It's like, what happened to states' rights? We're pushing everything to the states now. All of a sudden, this AI thing, and they don't want the states getting involved in it for 10 years. It seemed a little.
Because look how much progress we can make on AI in 10 years, Curtis.
Absolutely, I'm sure.
And the states have no ability to govern themselves concerning AI.
That'll probably end up in court. It'll probably, because you can't have it both ways. You can't be pushing states' rights with on one hand, and then on the other hand saying, no, we don't want the states to get involved in this. It's either it is states' rights or it isn't. I mean, make up your mind here. There was some really interesting stuff about the things that you just ran down. To me, and I don't have to spend a lot of time on this, first of all, because it hasn't really it hasn't become a problem yet because it hasn't passed the Senate. Now, that's not to say it won't, because in these times, you can't count on common sense to prevail, unfortunately. But to me, this is a morally bankrupt budget proposal. It really shows the lack of compassion that our country has for the least of its people. It is a clear effort to enrich those who are already wealthy. And anytime that you start with giving tax breaks to people who least need them and cut the services to the people who need them most, Medicaid, SNAP benefits, those are no billionaires are getting those benefits. So these are benefits that are hitting the people who need them the most or the least in a position to take care of themselves. And then to add all of that to the fact that this whole thing is going to add $4 trillion to our national debt, which is already around $36 trillion. I'm old enough to remember when Bill Clinton left office. It was such a big deal. This is in the 90s, obviously. He left office and there was I think it was a zero deficit. There was a big deal. I may be saying it not quite right, but there was a zero deficit essentially when Bill Clinton, yes, a balanced budget. It was a balanced budget. And that was like the first time it had happened in years and years and years. So this is in the 90s. Now, fast forward 30 years. Here we are at nearly 40. We're about to go to $40 trillion. It's irresponsible. It's immoral. And all of this to increase the military budget, which is already the biggest in the world. How many more bombs do we need? We have enough bombs to destroy the world several times over. How are we increasing the military budget while decreasing the budget to take care of the least of our people? And the thing is that the shiny nickel here is, they put a couple things in there that look really nice, increasing the SALT deduction. There were a couple other things that they put on there that were for just like a couple years. They increased the temple tax deduction, and then they go right back to the old. In 2-3 years, they go right back to the old level. So it's like we throw the middle class or a lower class a little bit of a bone by saying, yeah, we'll give you a better tax break or a tax cut for the next 3 years. But then after that, it goes right back, while at the same time making the tax breaks for the wealthy permanent on the backs of the poor in this country. So this is a morally bankrupt bill. It shows our lack of empathy, and frankly, it's a terrible bill. It's a terrible bill with enough shiny stuff on it to make the people think, yeah, we got something out of this. No, you didn't. You got robbed is what you got.
Well, let me give my opinion on this bill. Now, first of all, what you guys are going to see, I told you guys, what I believe President Trump intends to do is to run up the debt to unsustainable levels and then declare sovereign bankruptcy. So what you're doing is you're spending all the money. If you know you're going to declare bankruptcy and you want to actually kind of pad your wallet or get some nice things way before you declare bankruptcy, you're going to extend that credit. And this is what people do who want to game the system. You are going to see President Trump actually run the debt up. And everything he's spending is based on the fact he knows I'm not going to pay that.
Right.
So let me get my short-term things that I need before I declare sovereign bankruptcy, and everything runs through Trump coin. So we're having two totally separate financial conversations. One is public, one's private. The public financial conversations we're having run through the House and through Senate in public hearings and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
The private conversations we're having happen with people who hold my coin that can only get a meeting with me based on doing business with my currency. These are the things that we're not going to discuss. These are the long-term plans. The long-term plans run off my coin. No one's going to be able to buy or sell anything without using my coin.
Right.
So, but again, until I can turn my coin to the only currency accepted in this country, I'm dealing with Congress and Senate to get short-term things that look that clearly increase the debt. And so you would ask yourself, what's the end that you're trying to achieve if you are spending more money? Because we can all look and count cost and determine the fact that there's not going to be enough coming in quick enough to bring down the deficit from tariffs or from any business plans he has. There's not enough increase to the GDP, the GDP is the income of the country. When you hear GDP, picture that like you're talking about salary. That's the income of the country. So your debt is at unsustainable levels, and the only way that you would be able to pay it down or pay it off is to increase the amount of money you make dramatically, not by a couple billion or a couple $100 billion or even $1 trillion. So I think he understands that there's no way I can pay that debt, nor do I want to. And I'm very familiar with bankruptcy laws and how they govern credit. And, having filed bankruptcy on 6 different companies, I'm very familiar with bankruptcy. And I have I am 100% sure that he has asked lawyers and finance people, what does it take to file bankruptcy as a sovereign nation? And when you look at the ramifications, it's going to be blood in the street. It's going to be horrible. But that's only going to make people flock to his currency more. So yes, I don't see this as a long-term thing. Yes, there's some tax deductions in there for those that make under 500,000. There's provisions for exemptions on tips, overtime, and car loan interest. But again, these are all short-term things, in my opinion, because when we look at what it's going to look like in 3 years, 4 years, when that debt goes to unsustainable levels, and I think this is a good time, Curtis, for us to talk about the credit rating of the United States, which was just downgraded because because on the world stage, the credit base of the United States is going down. And as that happens, you got to realize Japan and China are selling more of their U.S. treasuries.
Right.
And just so you know, a treasury is a loan that somebody buys a little, lends the United States money in exchange for a fixed rate of interest.
Right.
So as they start to sell these, they're saying, I no longer think that you can pay me back that $1 trillion you owe me, as in the case of Japan, or that 700 billion you owe me in the case of China. I'm getting concerned you can actually pay me that, but I don't think they're going to be able to sell those treasuries fast enough to escape what President Trump is going to do, which is say, hey, that's not my money, that's the Fed money. Take that up with the Fed. Everything runs through Trump coin now.
Listen, the more that we talk about this, the more I realize that you may well be right on point with all of this. And you know it, but nothing you said, nothing that you said counters anything that I said. This is no less immoral, in my opinion, just because they're not going to plan to pay the debt back. In fact, it probably makes it more immoral. You know, the fact that they want to increase the debt, and you can actually see. I mean, it's obvious if you open your eyes that a 6-time bankrupt business person clearly isn't. And we've talked about how bankruptcy can be a tool if you get in over your head, you know, in business, that it can be a valuable tool, but it can also be used as a weapon. And our president, I think, has used it as in a weaponized form. And the fact of what you just said, and we probably all know people who've done it. Yeah, it's getting a little tight. I'm gonna have to file bankruptcy, but let me go put this new stereo system on the credit card first, or some new furniture, or let me, you know, something else that I can run up the bill on, because I know, like you said, I know I'm about to X-nay all of this stuff. Yeah. And to me, that is an immoral position to take. When
only against the Fed, though, not to cut you off. Now, mind you, if the currency switched to Trump was good, because here's what it looks like. We got a new currency. We are moving everything. There's no debt attached to this. Don't worry about income taxes. You just have to use it. So if somebody says, well, we got out of the debt, we get to still move our country forward, we never stopped doing business. It's like you got your side money, and your side money became bigger than the salary, but the salary, you know, is attached to the debt. But me personally, what I don't like about the plan is that the fact I know that you won't be able to buy or sell in his territory without using that currency. I'm going to say that again. You won't be able to buy or sell without using his currency in his territories. So, and it's a digital currency, which means that it's going to be tracked.
Right.
So when we look at, if it was just moving us to a new form of currency, maybe pegged to gold, and we were out of the debt, then it's like, okay, forget the Fed. Because the Fed is its own institution. It's not a government institution. It's a central bank. It loans money to the country, and it's its own institution. It takes its own risk. The fact you continue to lend to us, knowing that the debt was being run up, and knowing that our income wasn't going up as a country, you took that risk. So you get to hold the bag. You've made a bunch of money in interest. Banks are okay. You're going to be fine. But at the end of the day, it's what's going to happen to the people who have U.S. savings accounts, who have 401ks, who have pension funds, government-sponsored pension funds, who have anything tied to U.S. money. It's going to be worthless when President Trump pulls this move. And there's going to be so much desperation. It's going to be like, well, the only way I can survive is to use this digital currency that President Trump has launched. And I think we'll see people who never thought they would you know, we're going to see people doing things they never thought they would do in the name of desperation. So that's why I don't.
Doing some strange things for change is. Some people going to be doing some strange things for change in the next coming years here.
Thank you for bringing light to the moment, because we needed to lighten that moment up. So,
listen.
So thank you, Benita. She said at that point we have been sold.
Absolutely. We have absolutely been sold. And I agree with what you're saying, and it's problematic on a lot of levels, but the handwriting's on the wall. If you're not, if you don't see it, it's because you don't want to see it, apparently. But you did bring up an interesting point, though, that's kind of sort of related, is that the U.S. Took a hit on our credit rating. Now, we all have credit scores, right? As individuals, you have a credit score, and depending on where your credit score is, it determines your access to credit to get a better interest rate. If you have a credit score that's above 700, you're going to get a better rate than somebody with a credit score, below 500 or something like that. So the debt rating is basically the business equivalent of your credit score. And America has enjoyed for basically forever the top credit rating, which is AAA. And I used to be involved in doing loans for businesses, and you had a contract with Moody's, and you could pull their report and see what the credit rating is for each particular company. And AAA is always the best. You don't even look at those pretty much. AAA rating, you just sign whatever credit request they brought in because they're good for it. So now, for the first time ever, essentially, Moody's cut our credit rating from AAA to AA1. Now, I mean, it's still a great credit rating, right? It's still good, but it signals the fact of a lack of a lowering of the confidence in the American economy to pay its bills. And it begins what could be a slippery slope is with regard to, if we keep doing things that are seen as irresponsible to the larger debt community or that sort of thing, then we may see this happen again. We may see this get lowered even further. And that's going to cost America more for money and, again, add more to the debt. It's just kind of a compounding, snowballing effect that could be problematic for our country. All these things are compiling, America's not on a great trajectory right now. If you're paying attention to what's going on, we're not seen the way we used to be seen globally. The country has taken a hit. It's not seen as a global leader anymore. We're not seen as a serious nation by a lot of people from the outside, observers looking in. And this Moody's reduction of the debt is maybe just another step in that direction. Your thoughts on that, brother?
And that could be why we're forming new alliances, because maybe we don't care about the opinions of the people who we used to care about. When you look at the fact that we just met with people who we didn't really used to have a relationship with. One of the gentlemen, I forget his name, but maybe one of the co-hosts can pull it up. He was a terrorist. He was on the terrorist list just a few months ago. And President Trump just had a meeting with him. And
that's the guy in Syria. That's the guy that's the new president of Syria that you're referring to.
Yes.
Yeah.
So old alliances, when you look at the credit rating of the country here, old alliances are coming to an end. And that's why I think when we look at kind of who cares and who's, if you were never on the United States friends list, then, you could get in now. You know what I'm saying? And
if you got some extra cash laying around, you can get in for sure.
A lot of these people were, got tons of cash, and they just, for whatever reason, they just were not on the friends list. It's really been a European, United States, Israel partnership for a very long time, especially, at least for the last 50 plus years. And these alliances, especially the ones in Europe, are eroding. And a lot of the European companies or the way, look at China. That's another relationship that it is absolutely tarnished. No matter what is being said, this is, we almost, we have not seen the effects of taking a shot at China yet. We'll see it when we look at our shelves in the next couple weeks and start to see how that, the brazen confidence of our administration, to take a stand, messed up the supply chain, put a gap in there that we're going to feel. So, these are alliances that have existed. Have they been perfect? No, because we continue to spend too much money as a country. But I think when we look at the new direction we're going in, it's just so much uncertainty there. It's not leading to confidence from most people. Unless you are just, unless you are blind, if you're following blind, then you have the utmost confidence in what's happening because you're following the leader. And it's not that we don't want the leader to win, because obviously if the leader wins, then we win as well. But there are objective things that need to, you can like 70% of what someone does and you don't like 30%. But I don't know anyone who likes 100% of what everyone does, especially when it's this much, it's this much of a shakeup. So, I think that for me, it's like you said, I do see that on the world stage, we are still powerful and scary to some of these newer alliances who didn't, who they've always been scared of us, and they're happy to be able to make some deals with us now. But I think when it comes to, big superpowers like Russia and China, I think we still have a ways to go and showing if this shakeup. Look at the middle class. There is no middle class.
Right.
There's no middle class here. We got to really understand, if you made $100,000 15 years ago, 20 years ago, you could afford a nice house. You could afford to, you had some extra money. You could take a vacation or two a year. That's $100,000 household.
Right.
Now you make $100,000. You can't even really save anything.
Scraping by.
You are scraping by on $100,000. That means your middle class has been eliminated.
Right.
And so when we consider that the social upheaval of people who are not able to pay their bills, have to work 2 and 3 jobs, can't buy a house, forget it, 20, 30 years old, not even thinking about starting a family because you can barely, these are the things, Curtis, that I think the world sees. That's not hidden from the world. And
none of this is. None of this is.
And so this is why I'm very concerned with the United States as a nation, and frankly, I believe that the United States could absolutely be on its way to a fall from glory, and I believe that's what's coming. I think it's going to be a last-ditch effort. We can't get anything right now. From the political standpoint to the love in the country, we can't unite around anything right now. You show me a nation that can survive like that. Jesus said, a house divided against itself shall not stand.
That is it.
We are a divided house in every single way. So
we can't agree that the sky is blue right now. We really can't. We cannot. Somebody's going to just say, nope, that's not blue. That's teal. It's just, we can't agree on anything. And that's sad.
That's all I got. That's my rant on that.
I get it. And well, speaking of, poor financial situations, our friends at Target finally Now, I don't know if this is, we were talking a little before the show. I don't know if this is irregular.
We came on just in time.
All right.
Go ahead. Talk about Target, Curtis, because we've been looking for these Q1 earnings, these quarter one earnings for a while. Go ahead, lay it out.
So Target actually, they netted $23.8 billion in the first quarter, which sounds like a lot of money, and it is a lot of money. But they were down from $24.5 billion a year ago. So that's over $1 billion, or 2.8% lower than the same percentage last year. And their merchandise sales dropped by 3.1%. So the absence of Black folks going in and out of Target has definitely made an impact, and they've already predicted that they're going to have single-digit decline in sales for the rest of the year. So this is not even halfway through the year, and they can already see that this is not on a great trajectory. So Target is having their problems, and I'm loving it. Frankly, I frankly think we should keep the pressure on, and we know that on May 25th, we talked about it, I guess, last week, that Jamal Bryant down in the Atlanta area is going to be doing a prayer, 9-minute prayer at noon on the 25th in support or in honor of the George Floyd murder. And of course, then also to reiterate his 40-day fast from shopping at Target, which I looks like we're going to extend that past the 40 days. But since you've been waiting on it, I just wanted to set that up for you and let you go in on Target a little bit if you wanted to there, brother.
We hit Target for $1 billion.
That's it. $1
billion. That's $1 billion. We affected. Listen, when you look at, obviously we're in a harder economy. No, I don't know if we can even say that. Economy a year ago, I don't think that it's not a dramatic change. We can obviously see that if a company projects a certain revenue and then they go backwards by $1 billion in a quarter, specifically based, and they're the subject of national news, tens of millions of people saying I won't shop there anymore, because you don't want to make us feel included. It's all good. We have options. Everybody's still getting their products. They're getting them from somewhere else. It's fine. Or they said, hey, you know what? Do I really need the $42 comb that Target sells that I would normally buy? Because, hey, where you get that comb from? It's a Target comb. You buy cool stuff at Target. My wife used to love going into Target as it is called. Used to love it. It was a certain experience. But you know what? We had to, now they see we don't need the experience. And what I love about it is it has nothing to do with a race. This was races of all races that looked and said, you know what? If a store is absolutely against inclusion, and that doesn't mean there's not one time, there is a false reality there's a false reality being promoted. There's not one time I walked into Target and it was just so weird because this is just an inclusion place. Like, you got men going by dressed as women. Target, you know what I'm saying? There's nothing that is. It's like when someone said, hey, well, the DEI, what they try to make DEI, if you really think about it, it's not reality. How they promoted DEI is absolutely not reality. And so I'm happy to see people who understand that if a corporation that is a multi-billion-dollar corporation decide we don't want to deal with certain people, we don't want to include everyone. And again, it goes back to the conversation we continue to have, which is this is a country that supposedly says liberty and justice for all. This was the country that people would get on the boat to come to because they were being persecuted religiously or socially in their own country. And they said, well, if I could just make it to the U.S., I know the U.S. includes everybody. I can be anyone I want to be in the U.S. They're going to protect me. And so we changed our mind on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Gotcha. soon as you arrive, you know, you're looking up, about to throw your hat up like Mary Tyler Moore. And they're like, hey, keep that on, buddy. Hey, you know, so to see him get hit in the bottom line, because this is where it counts, guys. We are 1.8 trillion as an economy. As we pull our money out of these corporations that we have made extremely wealthy, put their kids through college, make sure everyone in their family can eat forever, they are going to now see that we're putting that money elsewhere. And what I love right now, the money's just sitting. We got a little extra. Hey, I used to do this. You got a little $40 extra a month because you didn't go here and buy that. Where's that $40 going to go? Eventually, we're going to figure out where it's going to go. But what we know at this point is where it's not going to go. And I love it. I can't wait for the. Listen, I'm gonna end with this because y'all know I've been waiting for Target to post these quarter 1 earnings for a very long time. Realize, guys, this is how much we hurt their bottom line.
Right.
We are a month and a week away from the end of the second quarter.
Right. Exactly.
We are a month and a week away from the end of the second quarter, and they're just posting their first quarter results. So
I don't know if that's by design or not.
Talk about the delay of breaking the bad.
They were double and triple checking those numbers. They're like, wait a second, is this right? Wait, hold on. Go through these numbers again. Run them back. Because I need to see. That says $1 billion less than last. Nah, something ain't right. So yeah. Anyway.
Yes. So it's going to continue to drop, and we can't wait for the quarter 2 earnings. And that's all I got on Target.
Target.
Hey, Target, keep up the good work.
Absolutely.
Congratulations. You played yourself.
Yeah, there you go. You know, we may be looking for a time when the people of the diaspora may have to return to a time previous to us being brought to these shores where bartering was a bigger thing, the exchange of goods and services in our community. We may be seeing ourselves go to a time like this. We talked about when you just talked about the Dogecoin. I mean, the what were you calling it? The meme coin, the Trump currency, all that sort of thing. We as Black people have always been able to look inward to our community and for support. And that's the way it was on the continent. Now when we got brought to these shores, we got a little away from that. You know, we got into the being indoctrinated into the American way of doing things, which is not necessarily the African way of doing things. And we may see a return to a time where our communities have to look inward to satisfy their needs because, you know, things are looking a little crazy right now out in these streets. But I digress there.
Get Black with Me just said how much of the loss could be explained by the high prices at Target versus the boycott.
Because the prices were high before. The prices ain't changed. This is a direct line from, I think that there's a direct line from the withdrawal of Black bodies from the Target stores to the decline in their first quarter losses. You know, there's really no way around it because Target, I mean, Walmart didn't have any problems, really. I mean, they may have dropped a little bit, but not as precipitous as we're seeing. $1 billion in 1 year is a lot of money to lose. And I think that Black folks have to stand up and take credit for that and continue to apply the pressure, not only to Target, but to any company that doesn't value our dollars. We need to be far more intentional about the way we spend money. And I think that's a valuable lesson that we learn from this Target fast. So, you know, kudos to the Black folks staying out of Target. I know a few of y'all still sneaking in there. We know. But
yeah, absolutely. And to your point, just to add something, Curtis, $1 billion in a quarter.
Right.
So
exactly.
When we look at the revenue at the end of the year, especially when you take into account the holiday season, which they're not going to get the same holiday season, you know, it just goes to show again, we're 1.8 trillion as an economy annually. 1.8 trillion. That's what we spend. So if even 10% of us decide that we're not going to spend somewhere,
that's a lot.
That is a huge amount of money. Huge amount. And I think we're going to continue to see us shape bottom lines and, you know, and make other bottom lines go up.
Yeah.
So I love it.
Absolutely. So that's that one. I want to get into, if you look at story 21 here, because I think it's going to be quick because we actually had some breaking news since we've been on the air today. So the Trump administration, in the last couple of days, actually, had told Harvard University, that they could no longer basically enroll international students. As you know, Harvard has been in the middle of a fight with the federal government where they sued them over the loss of, or the withholding of, a couple $2 billion in funding to Harvard. So they went to court about that. Then, you know, our petty president decided then to kind of keep the pressure on by saying that, hey, you can't now enroll international students. And they were citing things like the promotion of a quote unquote woke ideology and the failure to address anti-Semitism, things of that nature, which we can get into some other time. But Harvard, so just this afternoon, since we've been on the air, Harvard went to court again, not only on the funding issue, but on this enrollment of international students issue. And a federal judge then just today has blocked the federal government from barring, at least temporarily, barring Harvard students, international students from enrolling. So, you know, that's one of those stay tuned things. Harvard is going at it with the federal government, and I'm not mad at them. I'm actually proud to see them standing up because they've got the money. They've got the establishment. The alumni at Harvard is very, very prestigious, obviously. So they've got what they need to make a stand against this president. And what they're showing is the courage that a lot of people have not shown yet. So, you know, what are you going to do?
Well said.
So, yeah, that was just, like I said, I didn't think we were going to spend a lot of time on that. But there was a, now we're going to 18 or you can do 19 or 17 because they're kind of all related. But there was an ambush in the Oval Office this week where the South African president, Cyril Ramaphosa, I believe is the way it's pronounced, was in the White House, supposedly to talk about kind of rebooting the economy between South Africa and America. And
wait, I'm sorry to cut you off, Curtis. Don't forget, I want you to run that whole thing down. We're just getting some comments on Instagram. We got some co-hosts checking in on Instagram. Breezy 50, good to see you. We got people checking in from Sweden on Instagram. Good to see you. Good to see you, JoJo. We'll make our rounds. We got somebody else checking in from Michigan. Shout out to Popeyes Olive Oil. Good to see you checking in. I just wanted to take the time because we are streaming live on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. And so I want to let you guys know that you are the co-host. When you're watching This Week in Black America, we're dialoguing about things. We have phenomenal dialogue, whether you're with us on the Hello Black America YouTube page or the Brother Deshaun Facebook page or the Brother Deshaun Instagram page. We just want to let you know you're included. So type everything, and I see it says you speak in titanium bars. Keep the energy going, sir. We never were supposed to be this established.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, they never expected us to get to this level, right?
From the jump, we were never supposed to matter. Ooh.
Right. That's a bar right there.
That's a bar. Go ahead. Listen, Breezy. Hey, come back anytime, brother. Stay
Absolutely.
here. We're here for probably another 30, 45 minutes. We got a lot to cover. But for sure, I just wanted to let you guys know on Instagram. We hear you, we see you, and you are a part of the show. So, okay, please, Curtis, run that back from the top, please.
No. It just seemed like we're seeing some goon behavior from this administration. Hey, come on over to my office. We're gonna talk for a little bit. When you get there, the office full. People, everybody, all his boys there in the office. They're like, yeah, now what you got to say, Joker? And that's exactly, we saw it. We saw it with what's his name from Ukraine the first time, and they really jumped him.
President Zelensky, yeah.
Listen, I ain't gonna front. I thought it was gonna go a little different with the South African president. It's like, listen, he ain't gonna punk out. I didn't think, at least, and he didn't. He was like, yeah, too bad I don't have a plane to give you.
Right.
It's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I wish I did have a plane I could give you. Then maybe we wouldn't be here. But this all goes back to, at least part of it is, of course, and we talked about this last week, is that for an administration that is stopping all refugee immigration, for them to make an exception for 59 white South African farmers who feel oppressed because the land that their parents stole was now being taken back and basically given back to the people from whom their people stole this land. So, in case you don't realize it, obviously, in South Africa, it's got a complex apartheid movement where the smallest portion of the population, I think the 7% of the white South Afrikaners own 72% of the farmland in South Africa. So 7% owns 10 times the amount of farmland. And the reason they own 10 times the farmland is because their ancestors basically stole the land from the black people who originally owned it. Now, fast forward, we get Nelson Mandela, we get this whole change on the whole apartheid situation. So now there's got to be some restitution, right? Some, what do we call it? Some reparations, if you will. So, yeah, you've got to repair the damage. So the people that took this land now have been enjoying the fruits of this ill-gotten gain for years and years and years. Now they are the oppressed because now somebody said that's not right. We have to make this correct. And now 59 of those families end up in the U.S. as favored status immigrants, basically. Your thoughts? I mean, it's so ridiculous to me that this is even an issue.
Get Black With Me says something very interesting that I kind of agree with. She said he punked out, and I think
who's he? Which he?
President
Ramaphosa?
Yep. Right.
Why? Okay, I'd be curious to hear that. What he punked out?
Diplomatically, he did. He handled himself like a diplomat.
Right.
But if you look at look at arguably, and I don't even think it's arguable at this point, the world most the leader who has the most eyes on him right now is Captain Ibrahim Traore. Worldwide eyes. Mm-hmm. There's not one shred of weakness that comes across, but he's also not brazenly in your face. My question is, how do we think Captain Traore would have handled that meeting?
I see what Get Black With Me is saying now. Is that Traore would have never even come over here to talk to that dude. If you want to come talk to me, come
get on a plane.
Get on a plane. Get on that $400 million jet that Qatar just gave you, Qatar just gave you, and fly over to Burkina Faso if you want to see me. And that's what I agree.
Why am I getting on a plane to come talk to you about what's happening in my country?
Correct.
That you have a problem with.
Right. Come see it. That's basically what the president was saying. Come see for yourself.
Exactly.
What's going on in South Africa?
So for me to put anybody of my administration, including myself, on a plane, come to you, what's the reason?
Right.
To clarify what's happening?
To get jumped in the Oval Office is basically what it is.
Because and then for those of you who haven't known, who saw him sharing the pictures. Now you're coming in.
His proof.
Get black with me, like a scared diplomat. I agree. Again,
I agree.
You know, when you got somebody who's trying to act tough, the soft spokenness, you know. Anyway, but he's sharing pictures of white deaths, and now we find out, ladies and gentlemen, that was those pictures he shared to millions of people, by the way,
yes,
who won't watch the correction to find out that was misinformation. All they see is, did you see all of those white people they killing in South Africa?
Yeah.
President Trump was showing them one by one. It was a tragedy. Now, is he going to keep the same energy of saying, well, actually, guys, someone from my administration handed me a Reuters article that was about Congo?
Yeah. Listen,
the Democratic Republic of Congo. This is the leader of the free world, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, this is also the same president that thought Spain was in BRICS as well. So he's not an intellectual titan. Let's just keep this straight here.
So who? Let me ask you. You make me look like a fool on the world stage. You give me either. Now, there's two ways to go with this. I want to know: was this intentional? Was this like, hey, we know this is not what's going on out there, but our people are so brainwashed they're not going to do the research? Or was this a real mistake where you gave me pictures of people who were killed in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and you had me show those pictures while I have the president of South Africa here with me? I'm showing them live and saying these are South African deaths. If that person is not fired, here's how we know. If we don't find out in a matter of days that that person has got fired who gave him those pictures, then we know it was an intentional deception.
Listen, when you, I'm just trying not to be as hard on our president as I want to be. I'm trying to give him some grace, but he makes it very difficult. And can you define, you're a little younger than me, this is a term I'm not, is only recent for me. Do you know can you define what gaslighting is? Do you know what gaslighting? Again, I think I kind of know what it is, but it's kind of a new term. And my understanding of what gaslighting is, and maybe you just correct it that way. My understanding is that you're basically saying something that you know is not true to try and get the other person to believe it. That's kind of a very simple understanding of what gaslighting is. So do you think that's close? Am I close to what it is?
I think it's in the vein. I think gaslighting is really, it's a narcissistic, narcissists always make the other person the problem.
Right.
So, and sometimes, and I'm nowhere near someone who's, I don't study these terms to be able to. So, but what I can say is we have a scenario we're going to talk about, which in my opinion, we're going to talk about a little later when we get to Baraka, where this congresswoman was wrongfully arrested, wrongfully charged, did nothing. She's literally sitting there just trying to, hey, take your hands off of him. Take your hands off of him. She's surrounded. She gets arrested. They come to President Trump. They say, hey, what do you think about the congresswoman? He said, did you see how she was acting? She was out of control. That's gaslighting.
Okay.
That's gaslighting. Like,
I understand it now. So
blatant, yeah. like in public, in a private setting, you come in and somebody says something to you privately like that when you didn't do that, but they're like, yeah, you did though. You were kind of angry, but I wasn't angry. Like, why do you keep saying I was angry? Because listen, I hear you, but you weren't coming across angry. That's gaslighting a person. It's
okay.
like you're kind of setting fuel to them, and that it's nothing you can say to a person who's trying to gaslight you because that's intentional. It's an intentional tactic.
Gotcha. So gaslighting, then I get it now. So it's what we used to call lying. That's just a new word for it, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Well, listen, I think that, and this is a thought that I've been having, and just indulge me for a moment. Mm-hmm. I think we ought to get like a third grader to do all the interactions with the president. And I think that the best way to deal with this president is to have a third grader talk to him and be like, every time he says something, no, that's not true. That's a lie, or if he calls your name like he's bound to do, it would just be like, no, I'm rubber, you're glue. Whatever you say bounces off me and sticks to you. I need a third grader to interact with Trump, because that seems to be the level of interaction that he has with people, and he just kind of blatantly lies. Now, to your point, if no one gets fired because of this Congo then we know that it's a conscious effort. But that's all this administration is doing, is telling us things that don't believe your lying eyes. Even what you were just talking about with the Monica McIver thing. We all saw it happening, right? But don't believe your eyes. Who are you gonna believe, me or your lying eyes?
Yo, you just said there's an episode of Martin where Gina said to him, Martin, I saw you. And he said, well, who are you gonna believe, me or your eyes? And so this is literally exactly what we're experiencing. Like, wait, you realize we can see these things happening. We can do the research. And like Get Black With Me said, no one got fired for Signalgate.
Exactly.
So if no one got fired for Signalgate, then we can pretty much bet everything we own that no one's going to be chastised for giving this president pictures that have been seen by probably at this point hundreds of millions of people who think those are white people who were killed in South Africa, yet they were people killed in the Democratic Republic of Congo. Yeah, and there's not going to be a correction. There's not going to be a retraction. There's not going to be anything, because the whole goal, and I'm not even going to go into the goal. You use your mind to say, why wouldn't there be? Why wouldn't there be a correction on a national stage that makes pretty much the most established, or one of the most established countries on the continent of Africa look, questionable on the world stage, unless they're going to do their own research. And and thank God, I believe that some of these countries are going to do their own research, and I believe there's going to be probably independent news that comes out from some of the Eastern countries that lets everyone know that those were not people in South Africa that the West wants us to believe that they were. So
absolutely. Oh boy, I tell you, this administration is going to make sure that there's never a time where we are bereft of news. That is for sure.
That's for sure.
Since you brought it up, we'll just kind of get through this. This week, the mayor of the largest city in New Jersey, North New Jersey, Baraka, as you know, a week or so ago, was detained for several hours and arrested, had to go to court. But then this week we find out that those charges against the mayor were actually dropped, but in kind of I don't know how to explain it, but kind of a switcheroo here. All right, so they dropped the charges against Baraka, but they charge Representative Monica McIver, I believe is the name. So they charged her with trespass and a couple other things that basically said she attacked the ICE agents. And again, what are you going to believe, us or your lying eyes? So to me, it just kind of smacks of being the easier target. You know, maybe they realize that keeping Ross Baraka's name in the forefront of the public might help him in his gubernatorial run, which we also discussed. So perhaps they wanted to just kind of take that momentum from underneath his wings there. But any thoughts on this? I mean, it's just par for the course for what we've been seeing from this administration, apparently.
Well, I just I mean, what concerns me, as I said, is how President Trump reacted to what's the young lady's name, the Congresswoman?
LaMonica McIver.
Okay, so LaMonica McIver.
Yep.
McIver. Mm-hmm. If you look at this footage, there is no way. Can you hear it, Curtis?
Yes.
And what's crazy is, if you watch the footage, you'll see that they actually were leaving the facility. They had already been in, did their inspection, or they got what they came there to do. They I don't know if they got the tour and everything, but they were leaving. That's the point. If you notice, he exited the gate, and it's like someone made the call to arrest him.
Yep.
So it's not like he showed up and then was arrested. He was already leaving, had already exited the gate, and it's like someone said, "Hey, arrest him." And so naturally, if you know anything about Black women, I'm gonna tell you something. The biggest fight I ever had when I was 16, 17, it was we were in a park, and we were literally something. It was a gang of bloods, maybe 20, 25 bloods. One of them punched somebody that was with us, and we were there for a drill team practice because I was a part of a drum corps and drill team step group. And when I tell you, 7 guys and probably 15 girls fought 25 bloods in the park.
Wow.
We didn't lose.
Okay.
We didn't lose. So these girls, Black women, are going to step up. They don't care if it's cops. They don't care if it's a guy there that they believe is a person that needs protection. It ain't gonna be no. But she didn't even get aggressive in that way. She was just, hey, take your hands off of him. Next thing you know, they're intimidated by her. So what got to me was not even the incident, because the incident could have been misunderstood, and it could have been, oh, okay, listen, we thought this was a, we got a false report, whatever. It was the way President Trump responded when asked about her and saying she was out of control. Did you see her? And specifically, I want to see if I can find this footage. Here we go, right here. Check this out. This is what is dangerous.
Oh, give me a break. Did you see her? She was out of control. Those days are over. The days of woke. No, I didn't. The days of woke are over. That woman, I have no idea who she is. That woman was out of control. She was shoving federal agents. She was out of control. The days of that crap are over.
So if that doesn't concern you when you didn't do anything, but you're viewed and labeled as a threat, and then the president of the United States puts gas on the fire to make people think you are a threat, you're shoving people, you're out of control, like you needed to be arrested. That's the part where, again, we talk about this a lot on this show. At what stage are you going to say to yourself, America's going in a way that definitely I don't want to raise my kids in, but I'm thinking about if I want to be here, because what's the stop? We always say when you see those trains coming and you see those stops, right now we're watching the train and it's making stops at other people. You see other people getting, man, but that train's headed towards you. No matter what, whether unless you are absolutely extreme MAGA. And even then we see that FAFO moments. Extreme MAGA people, train
Right.
hitting them. President Trump, listen, I just want to make this video. Listen, this is clearly a mistake. President Trump, we voted for you 3 times. My wife just lost everything. We had a job. It was scheduled. She did an interview. Listen, this got to be a mistake. I'm making this video, Mr. President. Please. These are diehard MAGA people that are finding out, okay, that train's at your stop now. So that's the part that bothers me. And that's the part that's extremely concerned, because I know how certain people do Black people. They will try to make us look like angry, out of control people. And we've seen it in the corporate world. And some of you who are Black understand, you may
especially
have
Black women, especially Black women.
In the corporate world, you are made to look like any free-thinking, outspoken, for the good of the job or for the good of your position, is made to look like you're an angry person, you're an aggressive person. We're now seeing that on steroids. That's all I got.
Listen, I'm just going to tell you one more thing here. In high school, there was a group of Black girls that used to be, we referred to as the funk mob. The funk mob. This is late 70s, early 80s, right? And when I tell you, there's probably 5, 6 Black girls that nobody in the school would mess with. No, because I know them. I grew up with these girls. They were all, and you did not mess with them. Men included. They will whoop you. And I mean, listen, if you don't know anything else about Black women, don't get no fight with them. I'm just letting you know. Not one to really know how to fight, because it's going to be a battle.
And that congresswoman looked like she could throw some hands if she wanted to.
Absolutely. Listen, they might have some Dahomey in them. You know, them Dahomey tribe. But anyway. Speaking of some other great news, I know that was an awkward transition, but my home state, number 4 here, brother, the largest, I need to get into some things that are going to make me laugh now, and this is one of them. The nation's largest antebellum plantation burned to the ground this past week. Yeah. So yeah, there's this place in Louisiana in near Baton Rouge, I believe, and it was the largest plantation in the country still operating. Now, the thing about it that is interesting, not that it burned down, because I couldn't care less if it burned down. This is like a 53,000
square feet.
Yeah, it was a huge place. You know, Black folks built that, you know that, right? So the largest plantation burned down, and I'm okay with that. I mean, but the problem is this place, Nottoway Resort. Did you hear that? The south wing of Nottoway Resort. I hope you're listening and caught that. So this is a plantation where Black folks were kidnapped. Black women were raped. Black men were beaten. People were forced to labor for long hours and under extremely cruel circumstances. This 64th room, 53,000 square foot structure is now a resort. Take your mind back to, if you would, and this is just for comparison's sake. Imagine there was a concentration camp somewhere in Europe that is now being used as a resort. People were using this place as a wedding venue. You know, people were getting married on a place that was the location of such horrid crimes against humanity. And people are using this as a resort, a wedding venue, a place to have great times. And the thought just came to me, you would never see this in a concentration camp. And this is the equivalent of it here in America. The parish president described Nottoway as the cornerstone of our tourism economy. That means people are coming there to see where these horrors against people were taking place. So I couldn't care less. The fire burned down. It was suspicious. They don't have any idea of, the fire origins are unknown. I don't know how, why, maybe whatever. It doesn't matter to me. But the problem for me is that we allowed this representation of evil to be now used as a resort and a venue for people to have fun, and it's okay. That shows me how little we value the history of oppression in this country, or the lack of humanity those people stolen from the African shores and brought here to be enslaved. So anyway,
that's a
terrible thing.
layout, because you would never see that from any area or place that had that type of atrocity done to it. If anything, it becomes a museum, possibly. It becomes a place of, if you're gonna go tourism, it's a museum at best. Right. But
I have no problem with that. But you got people having their wedding receptions on this, dancing on the graves and black. I'm not about that life.
Listen, God is just, and
amen.
I think we're gonna see a lot more of that stuff happening. And anyway, so yes, I'm happy. I'm happy to see that burn down, and I'm sure that a lot of us are. That's all we've been seeing all week is Jubilee. It's been the word being described. We watched those flames. Jubilee.
I saw something on a meme on social media where they were having an obvious cookout in front of a burning plantation, and I took joy in that. But anyway, I need some stuff that's gonna make me laugh. We're going into a holiday weekend here this weekend. So some folks will be enjoying at least a 3-day holiday. But so one thing about the administration, I just want to get your quick thoughts on it. The Department of Homeland Security is apparently came out this week, has been weighing a reality show where immigrants can compete on some sort of reality type of programming for citizenship. So it's like this is like Survivor meets maybe Squid Games, with the prize being citizenship in America. I can't talk about this very long with a straight face, but I just want to get your thoughts on.
It's not a joke.
This is not a joke. The Department of Homeland Security did confirm that they were in the beginning phases of this conversation. Now, how can you be surprised when the president, a felon, is also a reality show star? That was his claim to fame most recently, right? Is you're fired. That was his thing, right? So any thoughts? I mean, any thoughts on the Department of Homeland Security reality show?
Let's pull this up. That's story number what? Let's pull this up for
that's number 3. Number 3.
Those who may be thinking that this is a joke.
No, it's not a joke.
There's no way that our government is floating the idea of a reality TV show where the winner either gets citizenship or has an easier path to citizenship. But you'd be wrong to think that. You're putting, sorry to tell you, it's absolutely true. It sounds to me, I know President Trump was right there. He either came up with the idea, or whoever came up with the idea, he immediately stamped it as a great idea. Because if you look at how he runs even the broadcast, the way he broadcasts the President Zelensky meeting or all the meetings from the Oval Office, he is a showman. And
Absolutely.
you know, if nothing else, he's a showman. And so when you are a better showman than some people in this world, you can actually make people, just like what we talk about, and how China has exposed what the West does well, which is branding. You know, so if you can brand well, you can really control a lot of the narrative. But in this particular case, this is a ridiculous idea. I get that you want anything that you think people will watch. What's next? Public execution? Let's stream those. I'm sure that's gonna get views.
Wow.
Like, you know,
the scary thing is that you are absolutely right. That's probably going to be the next thing. That's probably going to be the next big thing. Wow.
There are people. Twisted is an understatement. So I don't want to insult twisted people by calling me twisted. These people would actually pay to watch people being deported. I've seen it. There are posts about it. If we could actually pay to watch people being deported, ripped from their families. So when we look at, yes, what people will watch, that's one thing. But the underlying aspect of it is how do we think creating a show that a competition for citizenship, how do we think that that's good in any way, shape, or form, to the point where, you know, it's kind of like, who approved this? You ever see something and it's so bad, and you understand it had to get through at least
somebody looked at this.
10 people had to say, great idea, great idea. Yeah, that's a great color. Yeah, put it like, and then you get here and you're like, whoa, that was a complete fail. How many people approved this? No one shot the idea down.
That's because in these rooms, these people all look the same, and that's why they're railing against diversity, equity, and inclusion, is because they like the fact that these rooms are homogenous and that these people all look the same, and none of them have the life experience to realize that what they're doing is problematic, and nobody's there to tell them. So
look at Get Black with Me's comment on the screen, Curtis.
Oh my God.
The Secretary of Education has been body slammed on TV multiple times.
So is the president. Come on.
That's right. They've both been on WWE.
Listen, you guys, what makes you think you're not gonna see some clowns at the circus? I mean, the circus is in town. What makes you think we're not gonna see some clowns? And that's what we have. A bunch of clowns.
Oh man.
Anyway.
Okay. Yeah. No. I'm glad we went to the lighter topics. That
I need a laugh. I need a laugh today.
We got a lot of the heavy stuff out of the way. I think.
Well, there's still a couple more, but I definitely wanted to get into that. So this is just another quick hitter because we talked about it last week, but apparently the Pentagon did decide that it was okay for the U.S. to take a gift of a $400 million jet from Qatar. So apparently the word is that plane has already made it to U.S. property, and that the government is going to have to invest. They haven't said how much, but they're going to have to invest a lot of money in it to get it up to standard to be Air Force One. So we are clearly in a time where ethics are no more. I think Get Black Whitney might have been the one that posted something about they're going to basically steal everything they can. This is a time. Yeah, his one goal is to pick the country's pocket. Absolutely. So some people are getting rich during this time. So the grift is afoot, as it were. I know our time is going way.
We got too much to cut. Listen, guys, we go to 2 p.m. Eastern. We got some of these subjects we had to go a little deeper on, the tax bill. You know, there's things we had to go deep on, but we would be doing you a disservice to skip a lot of the other things that have happened this week. I said we had covered most of the heavy topics. There's still a couple. So what do you think, Curtis? 15, 20 minutes. We just try to zip through kind of a fast-paced reporting.
Okay, yeah. There's one I wanted. It's another ethical issue kind of thing, and I don't. Maybe we'll go to that in a minute. But this is still it's serious, but it's not. So again, my home state, Louisiana, 10 escaped jail inmates rather escaped jail this week, and 5 of them have been apparently have been recovered. Did you see any of this on the news or on social media? They showed the picture of the guys running out of the jail.
Shawshank Redemption. Apparently, they dug a hole behind the toilet and burrowed their way out. So, congratulations on making a movie that actually showed people how to escape prison. And people did it.
And they did it. Now, the funny thing is that the people that got recaptured, they're funny because like they're hanging out on Bourbon Street. Somebody was down in the French Quarter, got caught. I mean, so the first thing you do, you get out of jail, you go down to the French Quarter and hang out. I mean, that's not a long-term plan, is it? I don't know. They did arrest, they figured out a way to arrest 2 black women who apparently had helped supply them food and transportation and other things. Well, I don't know what other things they may have, but I suspect that if I was in jail for any period of time. All right, I digress. I'm sorry. But
supply them with goods and services.
Listen, you can keep that car, but hold on, I need some time with you. But anyway, so yeah, 2 women were arrested.
Let's see if I know I'm going back.
Exactly, and they are going back. What do you think? I don't know. You're probably not a fan of the boss, Bruce Springsteen, but he has been in the news this week for going at it with Donald Trump. And this is kind of an example of what I was talking about earlier. You need like a 3rd grader to go against him. He's calling Bruce Springsteen all types of names and all this sort of thing because he apparently made some comments on his European tour, basically not presenting this administration in the best light. And then like the American Federation of Musicians had to kind of wade in and kind of come to his aid, not only him, but Taylor Swift as well. So again, we're seeing an assault on the First Amendment right of free speech. And this president is very much, if you don't realize it, he's really cracking down on. He don't like you to be able to say anything bad about him. His sensitivities are such that he does not want people to say anything about him, or about the set of circumstances that he set up here. So apparently Bruce Springsteen and the MAGAs are now kind of revolting against Bruce Springsteen. So I don't know, maybe he's not the boss of MAGAville at this point, but
was he originally aligned with them, or was he?
Oh no. But the boss is just like a huge, superstar for, let me just call it, for white America, right? He's just one of those guys, the boss. I personally have never seen
one of Bruce Springsteen's biggest songs was "Born in the USA."
Exactly.
Born in the USA.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a patriotic song. He talks about
an anthem, right?
It's an anthem,
Right.
So yes, go ahead, continue.
Well, so that's ironic that somebody who does an anthem like "Born in the USA," who is a superstar, Hall of Famer, and yet now the president doesn't like what he says when he's on his European tour, and he now becomes a pariah, and the MAGAs are probably burning his albums or something like they did the rap albums back in the 90s. They're probably throwing their albums out, or like they did with the Budweiser when they had a problem with Budweiser. So
I'm sure
not a lot there you know, I don't know how many of our fans are also Bruce Springsteen fans, but it just seemed like an interesting, an interesting quick one to go there. One that's not so, it's not funny, but just kind of once again highlights what true north is for this administration. Trump's Department of Justice has said that they will now drop the police reform agreements between the cities of Louisville and Minneapolis. And you may recall that these police reforms or consent decrees came about as a result of the Breonna Taylor being killed in her home when the police were at the wrong address. The Minneapolis murder of George Floyd when that Derek Chauvin cretin kneeled his knee on the neck of George Floyd for 9 minutes. And the anniversary of that, the 5-year anniversary of that's coming up on Sunday. So we want to give some thoughts to that. But any thoughts on Trump just basically saying, if y'all police want to kill black people, we're good with it. Y'all ain't got to make no reforms. Any thoughts on the Trump administration dropping the police reforms for Louisville and Minneapolis?
Well, Get Black With Me said, these guys will be out of here in 2026. I hope you're right.
I do too.
I think that you're going to be, I think that from day one, the strategy has been, how can we make sure that we are not leaving? 2026 can't get here fast enough, I'm sure, for everyone to just see if we're going to have a chance to balance out or shift some of these tides. Because frankly, if not, I'm out. I'm out because I don't see you giving federal funding and more power to police officers. Yet last week, I don't know if we had a chance to talk about it, but we certainly had planned to talk about it. Some of you may have not known that there was a police officer who was already found guilty of a crime, liable. And after he's waiting for sentencing, right,
yep,
Curtis?
That was it. Exactly.
He's waiting for sentencing. And while waiting for sentencing, he gets offered a plea deal.
Yep.
We've never seen that before. I want to say that again.
Highly unusual.
Ruled against you, guilty. Come back for your sentencing June 30th. While the weight of the plea deal is offered to him. Now, apparently that comes from the top, the Fed, because we have, we reported how one of the executive orders that President Trump put into place sometime last month or over the last 45 days was giving more federal resources to police officers in terms of their legal representation, in terms of maybe a hotline to call when you know you just messed up.
Right.
First call you make is here. And what we've seen is, and in my opinion, that was the first step or the first major that's us seeing it in play, what it's going to look like when a police officer on the state level or in any level can actually have the federal government back them higher than qualified immunity. Forget qualified immunity. This is, we got resources for you. We got special lawyers for you. Whatever's necessary, don't worry. And like you said, Curtis, I think it just gives people permission to go out there and cause, raise hell.
Yep.
We're gonna see police officers raising hell now that the federal government is on their side. And again, we have family that are police. I have several family members that are police, detectives, Marine. We're not talking about the good apples. We're talking about that percentage of apples that is going. They're going to use this as a battery in their back to go out and do the things that we know a percentage of people in this country want to act like doesn't happen. And so,
listen, the underbelly of this country is showing again, and we've done a great job of trying to hide the ugliness that is still existent in America. but it's getting harder and harder for the ugliness to hide. I'm thinking about, what was that show, Men in Black, with Will Smith and the other guy, where the alien would be taking on a different form, but it was hard for the alien, the real form, to stay inside. So it was just like those monsters were just trying their best to come out. And that's what we're seeing here in America. The monster within America is trying to come out. We've put this thing over us to make us look pretty, and to make us to make the world look, not make us look as ugly, as terrible as we can be. And we just keep seeing it over and over again. The reason I bring it up is because we talked about George Floyd's death 5 years ago. Coming around now, we're seeing that his daughter, who was, I think, 5 or 6 years old at the time of his passing, is now 11. And she is being taunted by classmates about her father's murder. Now, all right, so 11-year-olds, kids say things, right? But where are they hearing stuff about the murder of a child that they would be able to bring that to school and taunt this man's child about her father being murdered? And what is there to taunt someone about in the murder of their father? It doesn't matter what the circumstances are. This is so horrid. And we're starting to see the ugly underbelly of America. We're finding it harder and harder to keep the ugliness hidden. And I think that we're in a time where we're not going to be able to hide it anymore. In fact, there's no appetite to hide it. People want to wallow in that ugliness. They want to be able to call people the N-word. They want to be able to discriminate. They want to be able to purposefully just abuse somebody's rights. And that's the time we're living in. And it is so sad to see such a once great nation devolve to a place where we have no empathy for anyone.
Or isn't that what co-president Elon Musk said the weakness of the Western world was? Empathy?
Yeah, I would have been okay if we'd have gone the whole show without saying his name. We really could have gone the whole show and not said his name, and I'd have been all right with that, brother. But
we got people watching on a couple platforms. We're live every Friday at 12 noon. We got about 9 more minutes. We'll wrap up at the 2 o'clock hour. But when we consider, that the leaders who are running the country, they don't think empathy is necessary. In fact, they see it as a fundamental weakness.
They see it as weakness. Absolutely.
They see it as weakness. So when we talk about, it's so funny to me. They said for years that the Democrats were the ones that were conspiring to build to build globalism. Good to see you, Vinny Descotti, to be the globalist. But when we look at how this could play out on a large scale, from a worldwide oppression standpoint, when you have the rich creating policy in very powerful positions, and they're running your government now, you're waiting for them. See, it's that trickle down government that never comes, but you're waiting for them. Those who don't have the money they have to be able to somewhat relate to the decisions they're making in the short term. Because if you have the money they have, maybe you can somehow relate. But even if you have the money they have, if you're Target, you're kind of like, hey, where you going with this whole thing? If you're some of these corporations that's losing money, Amazon, hey, all right, I got the money you got. I got more money than you, and I still don't quite see where you're going with this. But the reason why I strongly believe that we're not seeing what's happening with Captain Ibrahim Traore for no reason. We are not seeing the rise of really an inspiring force in South Africa with the what's the name of the party? Go Get Black With Me. Do you know, Curtis? It's the EFF, the one that
yes,
Malema,
right.
Mr. Malema runs.
Yes.
And I don't know if you guys have not seen that. If you want to get fired up, I'm talking about fired up from like a possibility standpoint of where we're going as people. Not all Black people. Everybody can't come. Everybody can come. Everybody's invited. Everybody won't come. The mindset is not there. Shot. They're shot. Pray for them. But when we look at what's happening with that, they're in a stadium. They are in a stadium. Did you see that video? They're in a stadium chanting like, oh my goodness. And the reason why I'm specifically mentioning this is because the times of us talking, we've already had tens of thousands of people go to Africa, start communities, living out there. So we're not going to be here talking about the heat being turned up. We look at where we were 90 days ago doing this show and what we've reported and what's happening, and that train not slowing down, picking up speed. And we see at the same time our brothers and sisters in other places that are moving and growing and basically saying, I mean, I can't count how many comments I saw from people from the continent that says, hey, don't believe the lies they've told you. China saying that, don't believe the lies they've told you. That's all Western propaganda.
Right.
And then continent of Africa saying, don't believe what they've told you. We want y'all here. Come here so we can actually build, because their mission has been to keep y'all from coming here so that we could all build wealthy communities together and build our nations into the most prosperous nations. So as it gets hotter here, I just don't want anyone sitting here like they don't know where God could be pointing us to. Like, oh, we have nowhere to go. No, if you are super in love with your life here, then you might lose your life.
Right.
Because God forbid, and we're not wishing death, but if you love your life so much here, and you see what's happening with Captain Traore welcoming people from the diaspora, you see what's happening with nations of Africa that are saying, hey, come on here, we'll give you citizenship. We're loosening up the visa requirement. You see South Africa sending the Afrikaners out of there who, that's a great thing. Hey, I'll trade white people for Black people. Not in that way, in terms of y'all think white people are not comfortable here. Take these white people and then bring some Black people here that see what we're doing here. And quite honestly, here's my last thing on this. I believe what we're going to see is the best white people are coming with us, because they're going to be like, yo, y'all leaving? The first people that's going to leave in the first year, 2 years are going to be the people who absolutely are tapped in, tuned in. The people who are going to be left, they're going to be watching and they're going to be a little concerned. But I got to find this footage. We'll end the show with this footage once we wrap up, because if you guys are not inspired to see what they're doing in South Africa, and the fact that you can absolutely go there, there's opportunity, it's developed, it's beautiful. Like let's not just sit here and act like if we're in a frying pan and it's turning up to boil, we have no options here. No one wants us. That's what they want us to think. That's all I got.
The Sally Struthers image of Africa is not what it is. And that's been indelibly marked in our memories. That's when you think of Africa, if you're of a certain age, that's what you think of first, because that's all you ever saw coming up, is the starving kids and the flies and all that.
We just lost Curtis again. Wait, he's back. We
What
lost
happened?
you for a second.
Oh,
I don't know.
That's the devil.
We might be, hey, we rebuke you, Satan, and listen, it gets hot here on This Week in Black America.
Indeed it does. Indeed it does.
We say a couple keywords that the system says, hey, shut them down right now. Cut the broadcast right now.
Cut that off. But anyway, we are just about out of time. Couple more things that we could have gotten into, but I think we'll let it go for this week, because I did want to just kind of show an example of why, of this administration's actions. And but I don't want to end the show on such a low note. So maybe we'll get to it next week because apparently this is going to be going on, something going on over in Georgia. We had a great time this week, and of course enjoyed our co-host checking in. So many things going on. This is a time when information is just flying. Every day I'm looking at the stories. I'm like, oh my goodness, there's no way we're going to get all this stuff in here. But stay woke, because despite the negative connotations associated with it, or trying to be associated with it, there are things happening around us that we need to be aware of. And that's what we're trying to do here with This Week in Black America, is make you aware of things that are going on that you wouldn't necessarily think, or you may not even realize are impactful in your life. And we want you to be aware. We don't want you to sneak up, because kind of what you were talking about is you don't want to be a toad that's in the water and they're turning up the heat slowly and you don't even realize it. If you put a toad in hot water, they'll jump right out. So the key is that you get them in the cool water and you just kind of raise the heat gradually, and they don't realize what's going on. We don't want you to be blind to the facts. We don't want you to be blind to what's going on around you. And that's what we're trying to bring in this format with This Week in Black America. Hope that you are enjoying it, because we certainly are. Brother Deshaun, any final thoughts you have for this week on Black America?
I got no final thoughts. If you guys haven't seen this, we're going to play this as the outro. We normally play the world's best theme music as the outro. But Curtis, once you take us out, I just say, listen, we're here every Friday, 12 p.m. Eastern time. We usually go 90 minutes. Sometimes if we go deeper on certain subjects, we'll clock out at the 2 o'clock hour. But yes, tell your friends, tell your family. This is the place where we catch up on everything that's happening that affects us. We are very, very focused on being the platform where every Friday you're like, hey, if I couldn't pay attention to a thing that happened this week, I know when I come here with Brother Deshaun and Curtis, these guys are going to create these guys are going to catch me up, and as well as our co-host. So once you close us out, I'm going to end with this beautiful video, which is going to be Mr. Malema, who is building something powerful in terms of a movement. His goal is to be president of South Africa. And let us know in the chat on the way out, Get Black With Me, what you think. Did President Ramaphosa turn on him? Because I missed that. She asked, did I see the comment? Did we see the comment that the president made about Mr. Malema? And I don't know if it was good, if he backed him, or if he threw him under the bus. So that's it. And just to let you know, I'll be solo next week because our brother Curtis is celebrating an anniversary. How many years?
10 years.
Hallelujah. 10 years. He is going to be away with his lovely bride, my sister Kay, and they are going to be enjoying themselves with friends and family. So I don't want him thinking about any work. I want him taking every bit of it, and nor does he want to. So I'll run the show solo next week. But certainly, man, happy anniversary, brother. I wish you would many, many more happy years. And I see DCO Fly just checked in as well. So
yeah. So no, I mean, I might think about y'all if I'm up by that time.
Right. That's all I got. You take us out and
listen. Absolutely. Thank you for joining us on This Week in Black America. We value you and value your presence. We don't take it for granted. Don't forget to join us next week at 12 o'clock. We'll be here bringing you the latest in Black America and what the news that impacts the diaspora. For my brother Deshaun, I'm Curtis Cheatham. We'll see you next time on This Week in Black America. Where were you when I see? Where were you?
when I'm there. So far, skitchy. When I'm so far, skitchy. And Tati,
I don't know if our president could pack a stadium like that.
Probably not. And he couldn't find the beat anyway. Don't just make you want to jump.
Yeah. There we go.